Some topics that are particularly confusing in the IGCSE biology syllabus would be the lymphatic system and the tissue fluid, and in this video I will explain it to the best of my ability. So, first of all, you have to be able to describe the lymphatic system in terms of the lymphatic vessels and the lymph nodes. Now, you have to be able to link these features to the lymphatic system's role in the body's immunity and the circulation of fluid around the body as well, so I'm just going to link that right now. So the lymph nodes play a role in the body's immune response because it is where lymphocytes are made and it is where they are stored. And then the lymphatic vessels, they have valves in them to ensure that lymph, or the fluid that flows in the lymphatic vessels, flow in only one direction so that they can be drained back from body tissues back into the blood flow at the vein right before it rejoins the heart. And also, if you recall from the topic of digestion in humans, there are these lymphatic vessels called lacteals, which lay inside each villus in the small intestine, and their role is to absorb the digested fats in the small intestine. And of course, it allows it to be transported in the lymphatic system and to rejoin the blood, where it can be transported to other organs of the body for whatever those organs need them for. And then next I'm going to talk about tissue fluid formation and how it is drained back to the blood. Personally, I find this quite confusing, but for IGCSE, it is not required in much detail, and it is even explicitly stated that you don't need to know about hydrostatic and osmotic pressure, so this should be fairly easy to comprehend. So first of all, you have the blood plasma being forced out of the blood capillaries at the arterial end due to high pressure, and once this blood plasma leaves the capillaries, it becomes tissue fluid. However, one difference is that tissue fluid does not contain any proteins like plasma does. So yeah, and this tissue fluid contains many nutrients such as like mineral ions or glucose and oxygen. For the IGCSE syllabus, you can safely say that the nutrients, which can be glucose or mineral ions or anything like that, are diffusing from the blood capillaries to the bed of tissues in the tissue fluid. And then once it has been pushed out of the blood capillaries, the tissue fluid would bathe the cells, and it acts as a diffusion bridge. And what I mean by this is that nutrients will diffuse from the tissue fluid into the cells, and the wastes, which includes urea or carbon dioxide, will diffuse from the cells into the tissue fluid. And then, after it has done its job in material exchange, 90% of this tissue fluid will be drained back into the capillaries at the venule end, and this is because the pressure is much lower at the venule end, so the tissue fluid can be seeped back in. And 10% of this tissue fluid will go into the lymphatic system, also to be drained back to the heart, if you remember the previous diagram that we looked at. So, just to clear up any confusion there is with blood plasma, tissue fluid, and lymph, because I know I had difficulties with this a little bit. Blood plasma is in the blood. It is the thing that is in the blood vessels, and it will contain water, proteins, nutrients, ions, wastes, hormones, and it has like clotting factors. So it has very big molecules as well as dissolved small molecules. The tissue fluid is when the blood plasma is forced out of blood capillaries. However, it does not contain anything like proteins, because proteins are too large to leave the wall of the capillaries, since the wall of the capillaries are only semi-permeable. So yeah, and this tissue fluid, like I mentioned before, will bathe the cells or the tissues to provide them with nutrients and take away the wastes. And then the lymph is just the tissue fluid that is drained back into the blood flow by going into the lymphatic system. So tissue fluid in the lymphatic vessels is called lymph. That's it. Tissue fluid and lymph are not very different at all, but they are different for blood plasma because blood plasma actually has big molecules like hormones and proteins. Well, hormones are proteins, but yeah. So to summarize this video, the lymphatic system is made up of lymph vessels with valves in them and also lymph nodes. They play a role in body circulation of fluids in that they allow tissue fluid to rejoin the blood before it reaches the heart at the vein. And it also helps the absorption of digested fats in the small intestine, and it allows that digested fat to enter the bloodstream in order to be transferred to other body parts. And the lymphatic vessel that does this is called the lacteal. Their role in the body's immune system is that lymphocytes are made and stored at the lymph nodes. Next, we have the formation of tissue fluid summarized. So blood plasma is first of all forced out of the capillaries due to the high pressure in the capillaries at the arterial end. And when this blood plasma is forced out, it becomes tissue fluid, and it contains nutrients that needs to be brought to the cells of the body. The tissue fluid bathes the cells of the body. It acts as a diffusion bridge, which means that nutrients are diffusing from the tissue fluid into the cells, and the wastes are diffusing from the cells into the tissue fluid, and this is material exchange. After it has done its job, some tissue fluid will enter the capillaries again at the venule end, because the pressure has now decreased, so that allows them to enter again. However, some will enter the lymph capillaries, and they will be called lymph rather than tissue fluid. So that's all you need to know on lymphatic systems and the formation of tissue fluid. I hope this has been helpful, and if it is, as always, leave a like. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, and please subscribe for more videos. Bye!